Good evening. On behalf of Penguin Random House India, I am delighted to welcome you to the launch of Line of Control, Traveling with the Indian and Pakistan Armies by Happymon Jacob. This is a remarkable book, not least because the author was given unprecedented access, unprecedented for an Indian, to the Pakistani side of the LOC, and was thus able to chronicle in vivid detail life on both sides of the border, whether the stoic endurance, the occasional heroism, and sometimes the bizarre similarities between the two sides. The Line of Control looks at the significance of the border and what it means in the public imagination, and to all those who live and sometimes die in its shadow. Happymon Jacob has long been associated with India-Pakistan issues, being a regular on the Track 2 process and also part of the Chao Phraya dialogues. He is Associate Professor of Disarmament at Jawaharlal Nehru University, a columnist with The Hindu, and the author of several books on disarmament and foreign policy. We are extremely fortunate to be joined this evening by a set of very distinguished panelists. Manish Tiwari needs no introduction. He is an MP and was Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting in the UPA government, as well as the Congress Party's spokesperson. Ajay Shukla is a very well-known expert on defense matters and a former colonel in the Indian Army. He is also consulting editor at the Business Standard. Gurmehar Kaur is a student activist known for her gallant and courageous stand against intolerance when she spoke out about the futility of hatred. And we are very lucky to have with us this evening Jyoti Malhotra, this evening's moderator. She is political editor of The Print and herself a very well-known commentator on Indo-Pak issues. So, without wasting any more time, let us start this evening's discussion. May I request Happymon and the panel to please release the book, and then Jyoti Malhotra will be taking the evening forward. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's wonderful to see a full house of young people. The older I get, it's nicer to have people who are younger and younger. Okay. Now, Ranjana Sengupta of Penguin has already introduced my panel this evening. So let me just start immediately and say, first of all, that Happymon, I'm very jealous that you've written this really wonderful book. I mean, I've been covering Pakistan for so many years, and here is this academic, that too from an anti-national university like JNU, and he goes and gets this book. But on a more serious note, on a more serious note, if any of you haven't read this book, you absolutely must. And I just want to congratulate you, Dr. Jacob. It's been a real pleasure to read this. So let me start by, since you're the man of the hour, let me start by asking you, why now? Why did you write this book now?
That's because I wanted to sleep at night after having sort of reduced human casualties to statistics. I wrote another book on ceasefire violations, and it was also published recently. And I know academic books are not read widely by people, and I wanted to sort of send this message out, what I saw, what I heard, what I felt while traveling between the two sides. And I sort of wanted to humanize the border, as it were, the men and women who live astride the line of control, the 1,125 or so line of control, the people who live under the sight of heavy artillery sort of aimed at each other, And the men who guard the border, the Indian and Pakistani border, the line of control, as it were, who are scared, the young boys in their early 20s, who don't know whether they will live the next day or die, who are scared of getting shot at by a sniper from the other side. I want to sort of document these stories. I want to document their experiences, their emotions, their feelings.
So, Manish Tiwari, I'd like to ask you next. Now, Happymon has humanized the India-Pakistan story in this book. He's looked at the story both from the Indian side of the LOC as well as from the Pakistan. But does this mean that we romanticize the India-Pakistan relationship?
Jyoti, first of all, allow me to join you in congratulating Dr. Jacob for writing an excellent book. And Jyoti is absolutely correct that all those who've yet not got a chance to read it should do so. I skimmed through it last night and then started reading it in far greater depth from today morning. And of course, I've covered very little ground. But whatever ground I've covered suggests that it's a book which is full of very, very deep insights about human behavior on both sides, about policy orientations on both sides. And in addition to humanizing the conflict, it really brings out the futility of what we have been sort of engaged in over all these years. But my favorite so far has been Dr. Jacob's attempt to smuggle some good single malt into Pakistan. And since he is
He succeeds one time, but another time
another
you're
time,
caught.
and since he's such a great connoisseur of smoky single malts, you know, I have some recommendations of my own. You know, I can make it publicly or give it to you in private, but be that as it may. Look, you think all of us have run this gauntlet over the years.
On that cynical note, Gurmehar, can I come to you and ask you, you're a student, you're still in college. What is your vision for, you know, for young people in India? In terms of, you know, what is it that you think about when you think of the word Pakistan?
So I think I do want to start by congratulating Happymon sir for this book. I remember. No, it's because my professor's in the audience, so I feel like now everyone's my professor here. But I remember reading. I was interning when I first read the manuscript, and I remember seeing it. So I was called to the office, and they were like, "Gurmehar, we have a project for you. It says India, Pakistan. This is your project." And nobody knew what was inside. But I remember sitting up. I read the book in one go. It's a very sort of when you see the books are always much thicker than the manuscript. But the manuscript I read in one go, and there's this whole conversation that we had about humanizing and romanticizing the conflict, and how we use these two words, interchangeably. You think that humanizing a conflict is romanticizing it, but that's not true, because I think the human part is the most painful part of the conflict.
Okay, so Ajay Shukla has been a journalist for 20 years, but before that, Ajay, you were an army man and you served on the LOC. I didn't know that actually, but I'm glad you reminded me. So tell us in some detail, if you like, when you serve on the LOC and you look at this Pakistani across the, can you see the man with the naked eye, or how far is he?
Okay. That's, I think it's essential to understand what the LOC is. On the face of it, when you're looking at it objectively or academically, it's a 776 long frontier where about conservatively 200,000 soldiers from both sides man it. That's a figure that includes both India and Pakistan. Now that's a nice sort of anodyne, antiseptic way of doing it. Let's come down, focus in a little bit. Near a place called Poonch, which is in the Jammu region on the Pir Panjal, there is a post called Mumtaz. where I spent some time. Mumtaz is the forwardmost point post of the Indian Army in that region. And the Pakistani post is where that box is, where those people are sitting doing the audio recording. That's the Pakistani post. That's the distance between the two posts, 25 meters. You can't obviously sit like this because everyone's aim is to kill the other guy as soon as possible and as effectively as possible. So what you see of the Pakistani post opposite Mumtaz is just a blank wall with little holes where machine guns stick out. And what you have on the Indian side, I've never gone across and looked at the Indian side because I wouldn't be here if I had tried that, is a similar thing with guns out. Now, when you want to see what's happening at Mumtaz, you get up there, put a mirror on a stick, raise it and look.
Like a selfie
And
stick.
then, yeah, you're sort of looking, because if you put your head above the parapet, it gets shot up.
Yeah,
Because there's somebody with a mirror there also.
right.
So for entertainment, you're trying to shoot the guy through that loophole through which his machine gun is sticking out. It's that big. And there's a machine gun sticking, but there's still space for a bullet to go through.